Subscribe to this podcast to get exclusive access to the after show Shooting the Breeze. Hello and welcome to Cool Explorations. I'm your host, Tony Peters. Today we're going to have singer-songwriter Matt Westin on, and he's going to talk about his musical career, some of the songs that he's worked on, and how God has guided his whole music career and has played a role in that. Hello everyone, welcome to the Cool Explorations podcast. Today we have Matt Westin. He is a country musician and you write a little bit of your own music too, don't you?
Yes, sir.
So we'll get into all that. Why don't you start out by just telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do currently?
Sure. I'm actually pretty new to the music industry. Only been in it about, 6 years, a little less than that. In a previous life, I was an engineer, and I spent about 6 years as an engineer, but I just wasn't happy, So I started pursuing more passions of the heart, which included acting and music. Well, first off, I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's where I'm at right now. Just blue collar family. So, engineering school was really, they're really proud of that. My first of my siblings to go to college and everything. So, but just living in a cubicle wasn't for me. And so when I lost my job, I decided to pursue more passions of the heart, like I said. And I just felt like, honestly, I felt like God had given me more of a purpose than to sit there and do paperwork. And I had this creative side in me that just was screaming to get out. So I would dabble with music, karaoke, of course, having fun and singing with my cousin's band or my friend's band. And then I had an independent film company. I was doing some film and some acting. I ended up moving to LA to pursue acting. And a year after I moved to Los Angeles, very long story short, my father had passed away. So being just totally devastated, destroyed, and, in a very bad place, I decided to move back home to Pittsburgh to be with my family. And I didn't know what really I was going to do. I was just angry and depressed and downward spiral, because, engineering I left behind and acting I left on the West Coast. And here I am in Pittsburgh, depressed. And what am I supposed to do? Well, one day it just kind of dawned on me. Why don't I sing? Why don't I record an album? I needed a distraction. And my father loved my singing. He loved to hear me sing. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to just give it a shot, and worked on an album, and we recorded the album Legacy, my debut album, which came out in 2018. And little did I know that, this project that was really just part of helping me get through the loss of my father. I loved singing, but I never thought of it as a career, a potential career. Well, it turned into that. And I really felt like, God had been giving me all these signs that I was on the right path finally, because I wasn't happy with engineering. Acting was great and it's very fulfilling, but it just, there was just something missing. And then I tell you what, it's so bittersweet. Life is really, really bittersweet, because we wouldn't be talking right now if my father was still alive. I'd probably still be in LA pursuing acting. Who knows? And music would probably just still be a hobby. But here I am now, and it's a purpose in my life, and I'm touching people, and I'm getting to travel and meet all kinds of people, and people from all over the world get to hear me, and it's really surreal. But I think that it's a crazy path from engineering to acting to singing, but I guess it's all part of my journey, and it's all there for a reason. So I just trust God, and really this whole thing has been a big step out in faith, because there are no guarantees, especially in this industry, So yeah, I'm really just a regular guy. Just, I was an engineer, just trying to make a living, and just wasn't happy. And then the way things turned out, here I am, and people think I'm famous. It's funny. That's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it as a labor of love,
Yeah.
So that's what keeps me motivated, though, is I want to make my dad proud. Losing him changed me forever. In some ways for the worse, in some ways for the better. But I know he's proud, and I'm just going to keep trucking and see where this journey takes me.
Yeah, and it's that connection to your father, which is cool. That brings extra meaning to what you're doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think that's wonderful to hear. And God does use tragedy and loss to bring about good. It's a theme common throughout the Bible, so it's definitely something I've seen in my own life. So it doesn't surprise me to see it in your life as well. If you haven't checked out my testimony, it's up on my YouTube. We won't get to that right now, but I
Okay.
want to hear your testimony and how God has kind of worked throughout your life to bring you to the point where you're at right now.
Wow, that's a big story. But you know, I think I was lucky. I was raised Catholic. You know, I went to the Sunday school and I got confirmed and everything. But it was just more of a chore to me, just because of all the um, ritualistic type stuff. And you know, most of my family's Catholic, and that's great. But I decided I just wanted to be more of, I guess you could say, like non-denominational, just Christian. I didn't want to put a label on it. I just wanted to be Christian. And ever since I was a little kid, really, maybe in middle school, I got technically saved, you know, when really understood what the gospel was. But I've always had a godly influence in my life through my parents and through our involvement with our church. And my grandparents, you know, were active in the Catholic Church. And so I was always around it. And I was always a believer. But when I really took to Christianity and prophecy and creation, like science. I mean, I am an engineer. I'm scientific minded, so I was always
Yeah.
interested in the science aspects of it. And in high school, I was actually. There's probably some people that if you ask them if you said my name to them, they would say, "Oh, he's a Christian," because I was really on fire when I was in my middle to late teens, and I would talk about it a lot. I even gave presentations in my physics class for creation versus evolution stuff.
That's really cool.
And I tell you what, it was only supposed to go for I think a half hour, and I went for 3 class periods, and it was great.
Nice.
The amount of people that were so interested, I was shocked, and
Awesome.
God was using me at a young age.
Yeah.
Um, and even through college, he used me a lot. Um, and I think he's still continuing to use me in a different way. I don't really go around giving speeches and talking to friends as much as I used to in like high school, but um, I get to do interviews like this, and I get to sing in front of people. And every time that I get to speak, I try to thank God and just try to give Him the glory. So I'm one of the lucky people that I've had God's influence in my life since I was a young boy, and I don't think I'd be here if it wasn't for him. Honestly, he's got me through a lot of dark things that probably would have destroyed other people. So, you know, I just give him the glory, and just try to have the strength to live in his will. And sometimes it's hard to know what his will is. Um, but you know what? I just keep putting one foot in front of the other, just like all of us, and do the best that I can. And I just pray that he blesses my endeavors and my career, because I know he put me on this path. He put it in my heart, and he gave me the ability. So if I don't use it, I think that would be a waste.
Yeah.
So I consider this kind of like my ministry. You know, by no means am I some kind of a leader or anything like that, but I have strong beliefs, and I'm proud of them. And this is my opportunity to be who he created me to be. So this is my ministry.
Yeah. When God gives you gifts, then it's important to use those gifts. So
Yeah, I
uh,
agree. And I felt like I wasn't using them in a cubicle. I felt like I was really just being smothered. Even though he gave me the ability to be an engineer, something just wasn't right. I wasn't happy. So I tell you what, being an artist is not easy. You know, the
no.
paychecks and the health insurance were wonderful. You know, I worked for a government contractor, and it was pretty good money. And The benefits were there, but I just wasn't happy. And now I'm a struggling artist, but I'm more fulfilled and I'm happier as a man. It's very strange. I guess it just goes to show that money and possessions really aren't everything.
Can't take them to with you when you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And I always say it's not my money, it's God's money. So it's
Yeah.
God will provide where you need, and that's
Yeah.
something I've been really struggling with because
Yeah.
podcasting isn't cheap and doesn't pay well. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Imagine.
it's I understand your pain there. How would you describe the style of music that you play?
Um, Country rock probably closely is the closest way to explain it. You can't just say country anymore because country today isn't country music, and country's changed throughout the decades. But I'm definitely not modern pop country. I'm more, I'd say, traditional or country rock. Definitely like to have a rock edge on my music. And my band in Tennessee, Tennessee Outlaw Country, what's in the name, Outlaw Country. So we do a lot of like Southern rock and outlaw country type stuff, and more of the classic country style stuff like Johnny Cash, things like that. Um, so yeah, I'm not modern country. That's that. I can tell you what I'm not.
Yeah, that's what I love about country music, actually. It's all the different forms it
Yeah,
can take. Because pop is kind of so much of it goes in one
yeah,
direction and all starts to sound the same. Whereas
yep.
country, yeah, you have your traditional country musicians and you have your rock country musicians, and then you have more your pop country musicians, and
Mhm.
like then there's southern country. Like there's just so many
There's a million,
different
yeah.
types.
It's like, I'm sorry, but pop music with a Southern accent doesn't make it country music. Not to me. So, not to a lot of
Yeah.
people. So,
Yeah, yeah. And I really do like your music. I love the song Ghost Train that you did with Tennessee Outlaw Country. We were just listening to that right before the podcast,
oh
actually.
yeah,
But I
yeah.
was telling my
Thank you.
wife I was interviewing, she's like, "Why does his voice sound familiar?"
Yeah.
And I'm just like, "I've been playing his music for the past month here." So
Maybe that's why. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah. But no, she was comparing you a little bit to Jason Aldean, kind of that kind of feel to the music.
Hmm.
Because he does a little bit more of the rock in with
Sure.
that too, and has
Yeah.
some fun with his music. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I like his older style of music more so than his newer stuff.
Me too. Me too.
Like Hicktown. That's one of my favorite songs by him is Hicktown because it was fun and the music video was fun too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're not having fun, why are you doing it? Come on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So where does your passion for music come from, and what was the training process like to get you to where you are?
Um, Mine's probably not very traditional. My whole story is not very traditional. Um, I played in the band and orchestra in grade school. I played multiple different instruments, and I was really good. Um, and then I guess when I got into high school, after freshman year, it just kind of, I don't know, I wasn't as interested in it. I was just focused more on academics and having fun being a teenager. And I didn't pursue the music, even though I had, like, since I was a kid, um, an interest in it. But my earliest memory of music goes back to when I was like 3 years old, and my dad had given me a cassette tape of Elvis's golden hits or something. And I still remember it pretty vividly for how long ago it was. And I got the tape from him, and I sat on my bedroom floor and I listened to this cassette, and I was just in awe. And I learned all the songs when I was a little kid. I loved Elvis's voice, and my dad gave it to me, so it was special.
Yeah, it brings up memories, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So Elvis is still very, very close to my heart, um, for that reason. But I really didn't do anything with music outside of singing at church, in the crowd. I wasn't even in the choir. I didn't really learn how to sing until college. I would actually kind of use music as therapy for myself. I would sing a lot, walking, or when I was in the shower or by myself in the dorm or whatever, or just listen to music all the time, and it would soothe me. And I really enjoyed music. So I was trying to emulate different guys, like I always tell people Frank Sinatra taught me how to sing. They're like, what? I'm like, not really, but um, I learned how to use my voice by emulating him a lot, probably more than anyone. Um, and guys like Toby Keith or Johnny Cash. Um, Even I remember Garth Brooks. I remember listening to Garth Brooks when I was a little kid in the back seat of my aunt and uncle's car. So I think I've always liked country music. Um, but I really taught myself how to sing, and I just dabbled with karaoke and singing with my cousin's band or my friend's band, and ended up getting better and better and better. And singing kind of became a little passion of mine, but it was just a hobby, just for fun. So, I never really pursued it. I never thought to pursue it until after I lost my dad, and there it was waiting for me. I had the ability and I had the passion, and it just needed to be unlocked. And I've just gotten better since. Like I always continue learning and getting better. So music's always kind of been a part of my life, but it was always, just a hobby or in the background until now. So, but
Yeah.
music was a huge part of my healing process. Uh, to me, it was a blessing and like a gift from God. If I didn't have that interest in music, what would I have gotten into? I wasn't in a good headspace. I wasn't easy to be around. I was very angry and sad, and you name it. And music helped. Between God and family and music, that pulled me out of destruction, really. So God put it in my life from a young age for a reason. It's
Yeah.
funny when you look back and you connect some dots that you don't think really are that significant, and then they make a picture when you pull back and see the big picture. It's like,
Yeah, for
wow,
sure.
wow, like God knew what he was doing the whole time.
Yeah, yeah. And if he was just waiting for that right time for you with the Holy Spirit probably guiding you along there.
That's right.
And I've always loved music because it brings up memories for me. I can remember often the first time I heard a song, it'll just pop in my head. I'm like, oh, I was doing this.
Yeah,
And
it's
and
like a
so
time machine.
yeah,
It really
exactly.
is. It's
Yeah.
powerful, very
Um,
powerful.
and Paul Brett and Keith Urban were my guys growing up. They were the ones that I absolutely loved their music growing up. And my parents had a rule that I can only listen to Christian artists. So
Mm,
if I was listening to radio, it was a little different, but buying CDs, it had to be a Christian artist.
yeah,
So Paul Brandt was the one that I got to buy a lot of his music because he was a good Christian singer and still is
yeah.
out there. And I think we're seeing a lot more singers go back to kind of the Christian and gospel roots uh, now. I mean, we see Carrie Underwood has put out a CD like that. Paul Brandt has as well. And it's nice to see that faith is now becoming more something that
Mhm.
country musicians in particular.
Yeah, yeah, more
Yeah,
so country than anything.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was POD, remember?
Oh
They were,
yes,
yeah.
yeah.
And actually,
Set it off, and Youth of the Nation.
yeah, yeah, that was huge. There's POD, Creed, kind of.
I listened to a bit of them growing up
I
too. Yeah,
liked Creed, yeah. Um, but yeah, country always seemed to have like there was a thread of God in there somewhere in a lot of country music,
yeah,
you know, for some reason. And that's probably another reason why I've gravitated towards it, naturally without even thinking.
yeah, yeah. And I think a lot of that has to do with a lot of that Southern influence because the
Hmm.
South has always had a little bit more of that outgoing faith. I mean, you see
Yeah,
a lot of the churches in the South. I've always wanted to go to one of their church services in the
yeah,
South because they're just so outgoing for God, and just our churches here in Canada are just kind of more subdued. And
yeah,
I'm like, no, I want to see that like passion, that drive, like let it
yeah,
come out.
yeah.
Um, and what's it like being a lead singer for Tennessee Outlaw Country and then also going back to singing on your own? How's
Mhm.
that kind of contrasted, or how have they played off each other?
I think they help each other, actually. My solo career, which I started well before I joined TOC. That's what we call Tennessee Outlaw Country, TOC. I guess my following that I had already built over the last few years has helped the band, and the band singing a slightly different style of music than what I've released has helped me to grow as an artist and just expand my horizons. Because I do love to sing, not just country music. I love that stuff. I love to sing rock music or outlaw country too. I like stuff with an edge and with some energy. So and that's the kind of stuff that we do. So it's really expanded my vocal range, my performing style, everything. It's just another tool in the toolbox now, basically. I'm still developing, and I think I always will be. I mean, even the best in the world have teachers.
Yeah.
They still take lessons. So, I feel like, if I'm in one band or six bands, unless I get burned out, it's all good experience. And I think for the band, they actually said to me, you don't exactly, I don't look like their previous singers, and I don't really sound like them, but they love what they hear. And I bring like a different twist to their outlaw, like, Middle Tennessee kind of southern, really southern rock vibe. I bring a little bit of, I guess they wouldn't say a pop vibe to it, but like a fresh twist on it, coming from my style of country music and inserting myself into that genre in a band. It just seems to all work very well together. I guess country and southern rock are very close cousins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's all just working very well together, and I couldn't be happier to be in a band. It's a lot of fun being up on stage like that. It's just instant gratification, really. It is. It's an adrenaline rush. I love it. But yeah, as far as compare and contrast, I think they go hand in glove. Yeah.
Yeah. And the song Ghost Train, how did that song
Yeah.
come about? Because I absolutely love that song.
Ghost Train was written by Tim Burton, rhythm guitarist for TOC. He years ago he'd been riding his motorcycle, and he had a heart attack, and I guess he died. He was in a coma for a while.
Oh, wow.
And he had an experience where he saw a ghost train, just like the story in the song says, a ghost train with a bunch of people on it waving, going around the mountainside, around the bend. And so he wrote a song about it. And when I always tell people that on stage when we go to a new place, and it really piques people's interest. And then the song, it rocks. So they're like, wow, this is really cool. So
yeah, it is.
but yeah, Tim wrote that about an experience he had. And he's a Christian. So I never really talked with him about what he made of that. I personally don't think that it was his train to like hell or death or anything like that. I think it was more of probably, hallucination type thing.
Yeah.
Because he was not healthy. He was in a coma. So yeah, I don't know. That's a mystery. Only God knows, but the song's pretty cool.
Yeah. Coma dreams are kind of interesting when I do hear people talk about some of the things that they've seen in coma. It's kind of interesting. And I think a lot of it is your brain just working different things inside it and trying to process its new life.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always interesting hearing how the words and songs came about. I'm a songwriter myself, so it's interesting hearing how other people have come up with music. What you've won some awards too, so I'd like to hear a little bit about these awards, and then we can get kind of into your successes that you've had as a musician.
Okay. Yeah, I've won. I can't remember off the top of my head how many, but International Music and Entertainment Association Award was the first one I was awarded. It was Country Male Artist of the Year, I believe, for IMEA, that organization. That one is the one that really shocked me because it was the first one. I was at a wedding for my good friend's sister, and I still was pretty new coming off of losing my dad and releasing my album.
Mm-hmm.
And I was starting to come out of out of that funk, out of that fog. That fog had started to lift. But when I got the call, I was at this wedding, and I just couldn't believe it. I was in shock, and it really hit me that, wow, okay, this is real. I have a music career now if I want one, and people are noticing, my work. I'm like, wow, this is it's a little surreal, and it's hard to process because I was just me, and I was just trying to cope with my life. And here we are, getting an award for it. And it's like, it was a lot to process, really. But that's what really made this whole thing real for me for the first time is winning that award. And then I've had multiple awards and nominations after that for my album, then for a single or two that I've released, for song that I've written, Thin Blue Line.
Yeah, I was listening to that too.
Yeah, really proud of that one. The awards aren't really why I do it. They're great and they're encouraging. They I don't know what the word is. I always try to find the word, not it escapes me, but it does help to motivate me to keep going. Just to know that I'm on the right path. I guess just another little sign from God saying, keep going.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing it for the glory or whatever, for the awards. But the awards are very much appreciated and cherished. Not to say awards aren't good, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't really think about them a lot, to be honest with you. I
Yeah, I
I
think
just think
that's,
about what do I have to do next.
yeah, and that's the right mindset to have, I think, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
And what is your writing and the music acquisition process? How does that kind of go?
Uh, well, writing, I'm stubborn, man. I should write more, and I could. I don't know what it is with me. I don't know, but when I get the bug, I write, and then I write pretty quickly. Um, geez, and I can get inspiration from anywhere. I do try to stay open to inspiration from anywhere, because it really can come from anywhere. I can't really put it into a box, and say this is how I do it and this is the only way I do it. I've sat down, I've written songs in 3 hours, and I've written songs in 3 weeks. You know, it it's different every time depending on where I'm at mentally, emotionally, or what the topic might be. Um, Sometimes, when I just feel like I need to say something, it just like spills out of me. It just flows out of me. Um, and you know what, I really do enjoy doing co-writes. Growing up, I just wrote on my own, whether it was stories or songs, poems, whatever.
Poetry kept me
And not
going.
until I got into the music industry did I start doing co-writes. Um, and that actually, I was a little nervous about, but it ended up being so rewarding. It was a great experience the first time, and every time since, just connecting with someone and kind of getting on the same wavelength and then writing a song together. There's a little magic there that it's hard to describe. It's really cool. It's rewarding. And I actually like it better than writing by myself. I really do. Because then you learn from them too, and they learn
Yeah,
from you. Just a really neat exchange.
yeah.
And then hopefully in the end you have something worthwhile. But
Yeah.
I don't really have a set process. I really don't. And then once I'm more of a lyricist than a composer. I'm a
That's me.
songwriter and a singer. Um, I never picked up the guitar. Well, I did, but it's more recently. So I'm no lead guitar player by any means. I just dabble. I'm more of a vocalist, but so I have musician friends. Like my producer, he's actually produced every song I've recorded so far. Brian Cole, he's like a brother to me now. Um, he took me in under his wing, from day one after I lost my dad and I wanted to perform, record an album. He believed in me. He saw a spark and he nurtured it, and he's been my producer, friend, mentor, coach ever since.
That's really cool.
We work on the music together, and then we put together a demo, and then go down into Nashville and choose the correct musicians that really fit the part that we want, and we record. And it's really awesome. You don't even have to do it in Nashville anymore. You could just make a demo and send different people their file, and then they'll record in their home studio and send it back to you, and you could piece it together. It's really crazy. It's not
Yeah.
like it used to be. That makes it a lot easier, especially like during the COVID era, because people couldn't get into the studios. Um,
COVID
so
changed everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It ruined a lot of things, but it also made us improvise too. So we got some new things from it. But speaking of, I'm actually getting over COVID right now. I tested positive on 4 days ago. So
Oh shoot. I've heard that like
yeah.
three times in the last few weeks here. I've had like 3 cancellations because of COVID that we had to
Oh wow.
rebook.
Wow.
So
Yeah. I
yeah.
just got back from Texas on Thursday and tested positive Thursday night. So, but it really wasn't too bad. I had a fever for like a day and body aches for like 2 days, but now it's just all sinus and a little lightheaded. That's
Mm.
about it.
That sounds lucky because a lot of people have had it a lot
Yeah,
worse.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not too bad this time, but yeah, I was in Texas for Thin Blue Line. I don't know if you had a question about Thin Blue Line or anything, but
I didn't have one down on here, but I did
mention.
listen to that song because Michael just sent that to me recently, and I was like,
Oh yeah.
I'm like that's a pretty cool song. It's been on my playlist now, so
Oh, awesome. Yeah, yeah.
I think I tweeted about it too. Actually, I put it on my Twitter.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Yeah. I was just in Texas at the Texas Crime Prevention Association conference in San Antonio. I performed Thin Blue Line for their opening session in front of like 250 different, officers and mayors and congressmen and, you know, sheriffs and stuff from all over the state. They invited me from Pittsburgh
That is cool.
to sing, and they treated me like royalty, and it was such an honor to perform that song for them and know that the song that I wrote for them is reaching them. That's the greatest feeling in the world, because I have a lot of friends in law enforcement, and I've heard their stories over the years, and I've seen the pain in their eyes, I've seen the pride in their eyes, and I've heard their stories and about the sacrifices they've made, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, they go
I don't
through
know
a
if you're
lot.
gonna make it home from work today, and you
Yeah,
just saw some guy get murdered, and you saw some gruesome scene, and then you have to go home and make dinner for your kids. Like, how do you do
yeah,
that? I
and
don't think I could do that. So
and
God bless
hug
them.
and hold your children. Yeah, like I
Yeah.
definitely it's a tough job.
Yeah.
I actually interviewed a couple weeks back a former police officer who had actually he'd gotten into a drug addiction and it ruined his career, sent him to prison, and now he's out and trying to make a difference. Um,
Mm.
and
Wow.
it's a lot of the things that he saw that kind of ruined a
Yeah.
lot of things for him. And so yeah,
PTSD. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so much respect for what they do. So it was great to see you honoring them because
Yeah.
it's a tough job and not
Yeah.
a
And they
job
need
I'd
it more
want.
now than ever, with all the opposition they have. And
Yeah,
this was my small contribution, put a positive message out there, and try to encourage them. So
yeah,
very proud of that one.
yeah. And PTSD is a big part of it. June was PTSD Awareness Month, so I actually had on war veterans and stuff like that as well during that time. And PTSD USA came on, and it's it's hard to see them going through PTSD. I have PTSD for a lot of my own trauma in my past. So I understand where they're coming from mentally, and the challenges that they face. Part I don't understand is how they keep putting on the uniform and keep doing it
Yeah.
day after day. And so, yeah, all the respect out to those in uniform, whether it's Army,
Right.
Navy, or postal workers, like even because they like even they have a tough job too. So I mean, a lot of respect for a lot of
Yeah.
these people that do government jobs in uniform, like just the things that they see and that they go through. Postal workers, they go through every kind of weather. I see my postman outside every
Weather and
day.
crazy dogs. Yeah.
Yeah, and I talk to my postman all the time. Actually, it's because it's my son gets me Pokemon hunting, so I get to see him when he's walking about, and it's just like, how do you go out in like this hot, humid weather, or it's pouring rain, like, or freezing cold, like -40, and they're still out delivering papers, like
Yeah.
crazy. So for you as a musician, what's next for you?
Well, TOC is, we're booking dates now, and we're playing more and more. We're really just getting rolling. I joined them like last fall. We recorded Ghost Train in October, so it's pretty recent. But we're really just getting a roll going now. I think we have a date or two up in Maine coming up. We're traveling now. We've been in Kentucky and Tennessee. I think we got something coming up in Florida, trying to get some things up in the Ohio area, Pennsylvania. So just continuing with TOC to get that train rolling, so to speak.
Mhm.
We're working on a new single to release too, to keep the momentum going. And I kind of hit the pause button over the holidays. Had some really bad things going on to family and health and everything over the holidays, and I was in the middle of working on 3 new songs of my own. Um, they're still in limbo. I can restart them anytime, so that has to happen very soon. So I have some new material that's going to be released on my own and with the band, and hopefully the band just keeps on booking bigger and bigger gigs and reaching bigger audiences. That's the goal. It's a grind. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
And you
And
know what? I wish I could tell you that I'm shooting the movie I was supposed to do, but I don't know what's going on with that. I was cast as a young Johnny Cash in a film a couple years ago, and we did the soundtrack. We did all kinds of stuff. We did um, a live performance for investors, like a condensed version of the script, and that went excellent. They had plans to make it a Broadway play as well, starting up in Toronto and moving down to New York. And then COVID hit, and
yeah,
everything came to a screeching halt. And I was so excited. I cut my hair and everything.
yeah.
We were ready to roll, and everything
Well,
shut down. So it's
well,
called
that's a
one.
real honor.
Yeah, I know. Johnny Cash, of course.
Yeah.
Johnny Cash right there. But it's called 116 McDougal. And that was the address of the Gaslight Cafe in Greenwich Village in the late 50s, early 60s, where the counterculture movement started. And a lot of, like, Bob Dylan got his start there, and a lot of beat writers and folk musicians got their start there. And the story is just about how they changed American history and music history, and how the club owner had to protect them from the government and the FBI and the mob and all that. So really interesting story, true stories. And Johnny Cash was a part of that group, that he would come through there and play a lot. And he became friends with all them, including Bob Dylan. So it was a really cool story. I'm hoping it really needs to get made. So we'll see. But that was in my future. Fingers crossed, hopefully still will be.
I'll talk afterwards about that, because I just interviewed Rob Eckner, who is involved in some of the acting and stuff like that. So might have some connections for you.
Yeah.
So how have you seen God at work kind of throughout this whole journey to bringing you where you are now?
I've seen him just really sustain me. Um, he's given me a pretty good head on my shoulders. I feel like it's gotten worse as I've gotten older. Things were just, I think, a lot simpler, as a kid. Um, and then things really get complicated once you get older. But he's always been there to sustain me, even when I felt like I had nothing left to give. I'd wake up the next day and be able to do it. And he's kept me humble for sure. I've remained humble and determined. I mean, he's just given me the strength that I need to be who he made me to be. I try to be that person, and I try to chase that, basically. I don't know. I might not even be alive if it wasn't for his grace, his mercy, because man, losing my dad almost killed me. And I was able to basically recreate myself in a completely different way, after being stripped down. And if it wasn't for God, I don't think I would have had the strength to do that, But I don't know. I give him credit for everything. I feel like I can't do a thing without him. Yeah, and then that's why he gets all the glory,
Yeah.
Yeah. God's working in ways that I probably don't even know, and that's kind of how it's always been. But I know he's always been there for me, and he's given me the courage that I've needed so many times. And geez, every situation that I thought that I was going down, somehow he just, I don't know. I'd find, I'd find the money. I'd find a way. I'd meet the right person, or just you connect the dots, like I said, and then you pull back and look at the big picture. It's like, wow, he had a plan the whole time.
Yeah.
He's just always been there. Whether I've always let him down, of course, but
We all do.
he's patient. I'll tell you that. He is patient.
Yeah. And where can people find you online?
MattWestin.com. Good place to find the links to all my music and social media. But I am on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the main sites. Easy to find me. Easy to find.
So, one final question. What advice would you give any aspiring country musicians out there?
Be true to yourself. If you don't do that, if you don't believe in yourself, first of all, and if you're not true to yourself, I don't think you're going to find that magic that you need to create the music that that you could. Because I mean, look at the pop music now. That's all like cookie cutter stuff. It's a formula. It's what makes the money. And you see all these older artists turning their nose up at it,
Yeah.
But all those older artists are legends because why? They are themselves. They're not trying to be anyone else. They were all different in their own right. They were all unique. And that's where the magic is. And it all goes back to like being who you were created to be. So don't waste it. Be yourself, believe in yourself, and surround yourself with people that you can trust. Because it's going to be difficult and you're going to need encouragement. You're going to need people that you can trust. I've been burned by people that I did trust. I was a little naive. So you got to be careful with that. And you got to take some risks, because if you don't put yourself out there, you're not going to get seen and you're not going to get an opportunity. They say the squeaky wheel gets the oil or the grease, whatever. But that's true. If you're not making some noise, if you're not taking a risk, you're just in your little box and you'll never leave it. So you got to believe in yourself, surround yourself with good people, and take some risks, AKA step out in faith.
Exactly.
That's what I'm doing. And God willing, it's going to work out for me. But regardless, still praise him and give him the glory.
Yeah. So thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule.
Yeah,
for
no
this
problem.
and during COVID.
Yeah,
So appreciate it. Thanks for sharing.
no problem, brother. It's very nice to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to Cool Explorations. You've just been listening to Matt Weston, who's a singer-songwriter of country music, and he has just been talking about his musical career and some of the things he's done in that career and how God has played a role in guiding that career for him. Well, I have just been blessed with so many people who are requesting to be on the show, and I'm impressed with how many people want to share their testimonies or what they're doing for the Lord right now. If I haven't got back to you, I promise I will get back to you. I look forward to speaking with each of you and interviewing you, and keep tuning into the show. There's lots of new people that are coming on here, and if you're considering wanting to come on the show, just shoot me an email at tpeters745@gmail.com, and I will get back to you.